Hello, and welcome to the AB Relationships Podcast. Your hosts are Angela Lazariki, psychologist and psychotherapist, and Boris Hertzberg, psychoanalytic therapist and couples consultant. We talk about relationships and discuss some ways in which we can help each other in relating better. It is a space for sharing, discussing, and brainstorming common relationship difficulties, as well as real-life issues presented by our guests. Please note, this is not therapy, nor is it a substitute for therapy. Enjoy, as we are about to begin.
Okay, well, hello everybody, and hello Boris.
And hello Angela and everybody as well.
Welcome to this new episode of AB Relationships Podcast. We are very excited to be back. How are you feeling, Boris?
Yes, I'm feeling great. Thank you. Just to remind our listeners that this is the place where we talk about relationships with our guests and sometimes between ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot to say. We have a lot to discuss. I have come up with a few more topics, possible topics for us to discuss, Boris, as well at some point, just so you know.
Okay.
And you're prepared.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me know while we are recording and not outside the podcast.
I am keeping you on your toes, Boris. Exactly. Do you have anything for us today, though? Something that you would like to start with?
Yes, I wanted to share something. I'm writing an article which is dedicated to the experience of dating the children of narcissists, of narcissistic parents. Yes.
Okay.
So
Wow.
one of the points that I am describing there is that the children of narcissistic parents are used to being used. So as I was writing, I was thinking to myself, and I actually still am, where is this thin line between using someone and not using?
Wow. Oh, that is such a fascinating topic. I have never thought about what you mentioned, to be fair. That is such an interesting topic. So have you come to some kind of clarity in your article?
Yes, even though I'm not describing it specifically, I give some instances of someone being used. But speaking in general about relationships, let's put it this way. If we are interested what the other person, the other party wants to do or doesn't want to do, if we are sensitive to their wishes and are willing to listen to them, we are probably not using them. On the other hand, if we are deaf to them, to what they want, to their desires, to their feelings, their emotions, and this is actually what I'm, writing in details right now, then we risk using them, pushing our agenda on them. So that's the difference I would note.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a very good distinction. Very interesting distinction. Yeah. So it's like, as people, what is our compass, right? Is it we or is it I, in a way?
Exactly. And are we ready to listen to the other party, or we just want to push ourselves and what we want and disregard whether the person or our significant other agrees with us or not?
Oh, that sounds like a very interesting article, Boris. I would definitely like to read it when it comes out.
I will send you the link as soon as I publish it on Psychology Today.
Perfect. Very good. And maybe you can put some links in the description as well of the episode. Just saying, I think this is a fascinating topic.
Maybe. And thank you for your support, Angela.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for sharing that. I think that it's now time to introduce our guest for this episode, right?
I totally agree. Let's do it.
Yes, who has been very patiently waiting. Right. Well, welcome, Anna. It's nice to have you here with us.
Finally, we can gossip about all the very specific problems we have in our life. It's very nice.
Hello to you, Anna. Nice to have you here. And our usual question, what would you like to talk about? What's this one issue that you would like to discuss with us? And maybe it will bring us to some other places, also interesting places to think about together.
So let's talk about narcissistic parents, and especially narcissistic mama.
Right. Okay. So very relevant to Boris's article.
Yeah, just for the record, Anna is not sponsoring the publication of my article.
Yeah, but I'd like to talk about that because I can see that how Western psychology is showing and trying to solve this kind of problems. Like when you have narcissistic parents, you have to complain kind of about them, and you have to be like a victim or stuff like that. But also like my culture is totally different. There is like a big respect to elders, and I treat my mother as my creator because she gave me life. So I will be forever grateful. Mm-hmm. So I was always thinking like, it's very easy to say that someone is narcissistic and like difficult childhood, all kind of problems that are coming with that. But what about like understanding also that position of mother who had like her own traumas, her own problems, she had to deal with that and where it came from. Because like I'm not really sure if narcissism is coming like you get it or it's more genetic.
That is a very good question. Oh, so you're making a really interesting point. If I'm understanding correctly, right? I'm just going to run it by you. Tell me whether I understood this correctly. So you're talking about a sort of like the tendency that we have, or that you have noticed, that we label parents or mothers in many cases as narcissistic, and we don't necessarily take their point of view into account, or where they're coming from, or any wounds that they're carrying. Did I understand that correctly?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Anna, can you please share with us how does it resonate with your personal story, or some episode maybe of your story, your life, so that we understand how this abstract concept connects with a specific person?
I mean, like I'm very empathetic. And way too much. Like I never think about myself because I had to be like a parent for my mother. And this feeling, like for example, we are going to the doctor and I have a problem, but at that moment she started to speak about her problems because she wants to get attention, and like as a normal person, I would just sit and be angry, like I have a problem here, like you have to concentrate on me. But as an empath who grew up like that, I still think more about her. And at one moment I saw that, this is not just like, please look at me. It's more like, I really need that care. I need that attention. So I think like, if I want to heal, this is my problem. Like growing up with narcissistic mother, I have like first to understand her problems, where she came from, like why it happened to her.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. And then
it's like right, because like that's what I saw, what I noticed, and also like me being too much empathetic with these words. So maybe my vision is not very clear. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I'm interested to hear your experience. So the way that you go about it and the way you're describing it, I find it very, very interesting. There is a question, though, that comes up for me, because what you are describing is basically having this understanding that all our behaviors, and the behavior that you're describing that your mom is exhibiting, for example, has a function. There is a reason behind that behavior. So you're right. It can be very, very helpful to have that understanding, just like what you're describing. My question to you would then be, what happens next? Like, what happens when you don't get that space to talk about you? You understand your mother's need, so you're giving her that space, yeah? And then how about your need? Where does that go? Does it kind of like get met later, or does it get met?
Yeah, I don't know how to get met. It's also the problem. Yeah, I cannot scream, I cannot cry, like I'm just, accumulating all my emotions inside. And after trying to deal with it somehow, just procrastinating a lot also. But I was thinking like it could be also the solution, like how to not have a narcissistic mother, because now I am like almost 30, so it's enough. But also I'm not a child, so, I don't have that basic needs anymore from my mother. But still it affects my life, how I communicate with other people. And also being like a people pleaser is a big problem. everything what's coming with that, like also ADHD, a big support for that, just you have one problem, put it on another space, like go to clean your room, maybe it will solve your problem. And like going with mother to the therapy is obviously not an option, because like that's the problem of all narcissists. But I also noticed that during my life, like all the time I have some very close friendship or relationship also with narcissists. Till the moment like I learned to put my boundaries, like you cannot cross something. So I'm like learning too much about narcissism.
I mean, yeah, especially if you had to deal with it all your life. I get that.
Yeah, Anna, you are raising so many important points. The last one for me, when you said, I don't know how to get mad. I think it's very typical for narcissistic people, and especially narcissistic parents, to not allow their children to get mad at them, because a narcissist strives to perfection. And when somebody shows anger towards them, they're imperfect. If someone is entitled to criticize me, that means that I'm doing something wrong. And that means that, I am imperfect. Whereas I strive for other people to validate me, to validate and idealize me, to validate my perfection. And it's one of the reasons why narcissistic parents, I'm not speaking for all of them, but some of them are very reluctant to get into therapy, because this is actually the place to express genuine emotions, including anger, and to be vulnerable, and to take this anger and to do something with it. So it's a very interesting point. Angela, what do you think? Do you have any thoughts?
Oh yeah, so many. Another thing that comes up for me about, from what you're saying, Anna, is also, many times we find ourselves, especially if, we're more empathetic as people, right? And we are more compassionate as people. So we tend to be, it sounds to me like you have this tendency towards understanding, right? And that many times can be a trap, especially if we're dealing with people who are either narcissists, or they don't have to even be narcissists. Maybe they just don't reciprocate, right? So we don't receive that understanding or that compassion, because then we find ourselves in this place, right, where you can understand your mother's needs, for example, where she's coming from, why she has this behavior. And you're more likely, and this is the trap, right? You're more likely to accommodate it because you understand. But then this becomes a pattern. And as you say, now you're almost 30 and you've had enough. I mean, I'm not surprised. I think you lasted very long, right? So then we need to kind of divorce these two things between understanding and supporting or condoning a behavior, right? I can understand a behavior, why she does it. She's in pain, she's angry, she wants attention, whatever it is, of course, very human. On the other side, I don't have to condone it. I don't have to play along with it or to sort of accommodate it every time. And a lot of the times, many of us kind of like put these things together, like, then I have to accommodate. If I can see it, then I have to support. And you spoke about boundaries. Massive topic. Well done for bringing it up. That's where boundaries come in, right? So I can understand, but I don't have to every time accommodate it, because then, like you said, where do your needs go? Where are they?
Nowhere. I don't have space for that. Like even now I am volunteering just to, don't have space for my own needs.
Yeah, that's the place to share compassion with others. Volunteering.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think it's also like coming, with these needs to save the world, and like because I have experienced so much bad thing happen, in my life, in my family. So now when I see something bad happening, I'm like, no, we have to keep the balance. There should be the balance between like good and bad. And yeah, I'm just trying too hard, like not sleeping, answering to all requests, never saying no, because like why we should. Yeah, so it's all coming together. But the thing, like when I understood that it's not like only the problem like for my mother, it was also the problem for my grandmother, and because she grew up basically in ghetto, like during the Second War. So like it's coming from somewhere, you know, that there are some needs that needs to be healed, like to be treated as a real human, you know, like to have equal rights. And during my life, I'm still like fighting for equal rights, for human rights. And there's always this hope, like in one moment I will just get clarity, or like also understanding that these problems are generational and every generation has to experience it and we will never solve it. So my thoughts are that like normally going to a therapist, probably I will not get the right answer, because like also probably therapists will not understand my problem because they don't have like the same experiences, or this case is not studied enough. But I don't really think that like you just have narcissistic parents because they are bad people. Like something should happen to them that they became bad, or maybe they never had anything good.
I just can't keep silent. You are bringing such an important and vivid, such an important point and such a vivid example of you know, a grandmother growing up in a ghetto. And I'm thinking about this vulnerability and wanting someone to get protection. And so you had mentioned before that you were acting like a parent for your mother because that's what your mother expected. So it could be generational trauma, and it could be for many people when, let's say, someone's grandmother is in such conditions that she needs protection, and she grows up expecting, let's say, if her parents are no longer there, she expects her children to protect her, and then her daughter grows without being protected, and then she expects her daughter to be her parent. So it's like a vicious circle that we unfortunately observe, you know, in our lives and in our professional practice.
Generational trauma, as we have come to understand it better and better, generational, race, national trauma, there's all these things that we inherit from where we come from, family, religion, race, you know, country, whatever it is. Yes, it's like I see it many times in my clients as chains that are inherited, right? And that's what I feel like you're describing a lot about, you're talking about. The important thing for me is to realize when these things happen, it's very heavy, right? It's carried on from generation to generation to generation. So there's this whole line of people who have these patterns and this pain that they are carrying. The important thing for me is that it can change. It's something that can start shifting little by little by little. For example, of course, I don't know a lot of your stories, just what you're saying here, but what I am understanding is that you seem to be a person who has a lot of insight, a person who can see clearly, like you can see your mother's behavior, where it's coming from, you can see your grandmother's behavior. So if nothing else, to me, it sounds like there's this line of trauma and you have kind of paused and you're looking back and you're looking at it. That is always the massive first step. Like, okay, I see what's happening here. And I see, you know, the effects on me as well. I'm here, part of this line, right? And then, you know, we have a lot of choices. Like, what do I do? How do I help myself? And everybody's different. Everybody needs different needs, and they have different paths that they can follow. But to me, you're already starting to make that shift by having the insight, right?
Yeah, so we're on a good side. Now we just need to change the society and to see all my family as real humans and treat them equally. And there will be like no narcissist in my family anymore. Nice.
Yeah, it's very easy.
So easy, like. Absolutely. But you're bringing up so many interesting topics, and it brings in psychology, mental health, you know, anthropology, sociology, so many things, because obviously everything is interconnected, right? And we're all the recipients of so many variables.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm thinking like, you know, if you would be born like in, you know, just island without no people, no government, like know these social issues. Like maybe we would be just a happy family, no problems, just drinking coffee together, eating some baklava and being happy.
Yeah.
On the one hand, on the other hand, how do we know that the people we are eating baklava with are not narcissistic? How do we know that they will not, exploit us or tell us to bring them coffee or to yank the coconut of the tree? I think as long as we are surrounded by other people, we are surrounded by different personalities, and we have to deal with it. But
So it's like
the thing that
therapy.
Sorry?
Lifelong therapy.
Yes, of course. The thing that sticks out to me in this context is compassion, that has been mentioned. Compassion and understanding. It's easier to use people who are compassionate because they find it hard to say no. They often place other people's interests above theirs. So I think unfortunately becomes a very fertile ground for the narcissists to thrive on. So also I think it's an important task, especially for compassionate people, to know where to draw the line, where to be empathetic and to acknowledge other people's needs and cultural background and their story, and where to just to draw the line and to take the responsibility for yourself, for your own needs, and to be a parent, to be a capable parent for yourself.
To be a parent for yourself. So parenting is also a part. Okay.
Yeah, psychological parenting.
Yeah, big thing. Absolutely. I find, especially when it comes to boundaries, which are so necessary when we're talking about dealing with narcissists, but also people who tend to be more compassionate and empathetic, one word that always comes up and I find is incredibly important is discernment, right? If you have as a quality, if you are a person who is more compassionate and who is more empathetic, it's easy for you to understand people's pain and people's point of view. That's when I think it's even more important to be able to have this discernment as a way of protecting yourself. How much do I give? To whom? When? When do I rest? When do I give? When do I ask, maybe, to receive? You can't, you can't see Anna's face right now, but we can see her face and it was shocked. Like, what do you mean receive? What does that mean?
What do you mean to ask? What do you mean to ask? What's interesting, what Anna had said, that I need to respect my mother as my creator. And I thought it's such a powerful metaphor for all of us. How do you actually treat someone who literally created you, who gave birth to you? Our parents, especially our mothers, have godly status. And unfortunately, some of them use this status for their own good.
Yeah, but still, I'm very grateful for my life that I'm here. It's very beautiful here. Coffee is good. So I have to be grateful, yeah. And actually, like this feeling of being grateful, that's also something that makes me happy, because I think like being a victim all the time, like it's enough. We have been victimized like for centuries. It's enough. Like finally, like it's time to have some fun.
I really like that message. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Of course. Absolutely.
So
yeah, I'm keeping silence, but me too.
I was looking at you, Boris, like, what did you say?
Well, I agree with you or not. So I think it's a good point to wrap our episode up. And does any one of you have something final to say for today?
Anna, since you're our guest, any final
thoughts? I think we should talk more about our problems and more openly, but also in safe space where it's like we are not judged. Yeah, to not be judged for our problems and not call like, oh, you're complaining too much. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity and to share my personal problems and generational problems.
We love personal problems.
Good.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like how you ended it, Anna. And thank you very much for coming and for sharing part of your story with us. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And then before we say our goodbyes, Angela, maybe you have something to add to
Now
wrap our episode up.
I have an even bigger list of topics that we could talk about now, inspired by Anna's story. Oh my God, absolutely. And I'm gonna send you the list, Boris. But I'm also looking forward to reading your article, which is so relevant to what Anna was talking about today.
Yes, and to all people listening to us, it was totally improvised. We didn't know what would be the topic of our episode today, and I'm actually glad that we took it to this direction. I found this very fruitful and interesting to talk to you about that, and a special thanks to you for coming and sharing, and Angela, of course, to you for being my loyal partner.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you then, and see you next time. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
You were listening to the AB Relationships Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends and subscribe to be notified of the new episodes. If you would like to become our next guest, please leave your details in the form in the description. If you have any questions or would like to talk to the hosts, please also refer to the description.